So God has always, even in the dispensation of the law, he has always operated with people by grace. He's always been merciful. He's always been kind. And yet Paul says here today, we don't want to minimize the warning. There's a warning to Christians that God has something so good for us, a life that is so not just pleasant, but active and amazing and supernatural, that it advances and changes and works. His glory upon us, that we have all this access, and we don't want to neglect it for silly idols, for silly plastic trinkets. So in his examples, he has a few. He says, number one, it's idolatry. He says some of them, they were given to idolatry and they were slain, and it's true. They were slain. In this case, what is idolatry? Because most of us probably are not going to go down and grab, a little Buddha and put it in our house and stick a banana in front of it. Most of us are probably not going to do that. But idolatry, and I think it's been said, and I think people mean well. I'm not trying to be a jerk. They say, well, anything that you put before God is an idol. Okay, maybe. But that's, I think, an oversimplification. Because idolatry boils down to this. It's been the same since the first idolater. It's been the same since Nimrod as it has been until this very day. And it will be until Jesus Christ returns. And this is it. Idolatry is when we take something and we allot it power that we rob from God, and we say that it's able to give us something that we want or need, and then we serve it in some way to get that. That's what idolatry is. So let's say my life is bad, and I have trouble coping with it. And so I go and I buy weed. And when I'm feeling low, I just smoke weed because it makes me feel better. And so what I've done there is I've looked at weed and I've said, this has power. It makes me feel better. It gives me what I want. And so by allowing it to exercise its thing in my life to change my attitude, I give it that power and I serve it. But ultimately, I'm just serving it because I want to get what I want. It doesn't matter if it's Moloch and I'm sacrificing my child to get better crops. It doesn't matter if it's Aphrodite and I'm having sex with a temple prostitute to make my wife more fertile. It doesn't matter if I'm looking to Zeus because I want to, or not Zeus, but Poseidon because I want to fish and I don't want to get killed while I'm fishing, and so I sacrifice to him to make sure that the seas are calm. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I look at something, I ascribe it power that only belongs to God, and I say that I will serve you in order to get what I want. That is what idolatry is. And so when we look at idolatry today and what we're wrestling with, we do that. We can idolize Netflix. We can sit down in front of Netflix and say, this will calm my heart. I could go and perhaps labor a little bit in the Word, spend some time in prayer. I could seek God, or I can sit on my couch with some ice cream and I can watch The Office. And then after binge watching whatever we're watching for 4 hours, and we've eaten too much ice cream and our blood sugar's gone like this, and we've now become suicidal, we're just it didn't work in the end. Right? We ascribe to it. And so Paul's saying, don't ascribe to that. Don't serve idols. If you're in a place where you're I don't know how to find encouragement in the Word, we would love to help you with that. Because the Word is powerful, it is mighty when we understand it, when we're able to work through it. So he's giving a warning to the Corinthians. He's saying, look, don't fall after idolatry like they did. When you look at what was with Aaron, Aaron makes the golden calf, and that's the example he gives, where he says that they sat down to eat and they rose up, some of your Bibles might say, to play. It's literally lasciviousness, sensual sexuality is what it is. So what Aaron orchestrates is he basically makes a golden calf, and then he orchestrates a gigantic sexual worship around that calf. And you got to love the humor from the Bible, because Moses and Joshua are on Mount Sinai, and Joshua hears it, and he goes, that's the sound of war. And Moses goes, that's not the sound of war. Goes back down. You're you're innocent, Joshua. I love that. It's great for you. But they go down, they see it, and then there's this judgment that occurs through Moses and through God. Also, a cool side note, Moses is high priest a month later. You ever think about that? He literally causes the entire nation to have a giant orgy. And a month later, God says, you're my high priest. It's pretty wild, the grace of God, isn't it? Amazing how kind he is, the forgiveness, the cleansing. This is amazing. So here we are. We don't want to fall into the same thing. We don't want to look at pleasure. We want to look at whatever it might be and serve it to try to get what we're looking for. Because the reality is that Christ has everything we're looking for. The bottom line is oftentimes it just takes a little bit of time to invest in spiritual things to receive spiritual fruit. Whereas with things of the flesh, it takes very little investment to get reward from the things of flesh. But one lasts forever and one does not.